So, Mikey, you cheeky monkey, back in Coronation Street, eh, for a couple of episodes.
Yeah, it was great. It was great to get asked back. I
And
met you
you didn't
guys.
tell us at all, did you? You even know
You know,
you
once
could
you
have.
once you're NDA'd, do you know what Coronation Street actually? To my knowledge, probably need to find this out with my agent. I don't think they actually have NDAs as such, but just from my own point of view, because so many of the stories are, they're current and I mean, it's constantly updating. I don't like to tell anybody for a variety of reasons. One, because I know how hard all the other actors work all year round in creating these stories. And then, the story obviously after Roy will continue to develop when what happens with Lauren and Joel will continue to develop. And I don't want to compromise any of those people, the work that they've done and the work that they're going to do in the future. So I just, I keep my cards close to my chest. I'm generally like that as a person anyway. I just kind of think, when we met, there was part I knew because I met you in the morning and I was actually flying out in the afternoon to go and film. And we were talking, and I was sitting going, I feel really bad here because I know what I'm going to do. But at the same time, I'm aware that fans of the show and such as yourselves eventually get the benefits of that because then they enjoy the final bit. So that's how I sort of, made my peace with it. I just sort of went, you know what, really, at the end of the day, I know I'm going to do something which in the long run will
Oh,
hopefully keep the guys happy.
I'm glad that's what you went with. I'm glad we didn't know back then. How long had you known? When were you asked back, or was it always going to be on the cards when you left last year?
No, no, it genuinely wasn't. Whenever I think we chatted about this the first time, it was a one-way ticket for me. Well, I thought it was a one-way ticket for me. And when they spoke to me, they said, look, probably be 6 to 9 months. And then obviously with the Griff story tying up with Max and stuff tying up, that would be the end of it.
Hmm.
And then I spoke with Ian and just to say thanks very much for the time. He just said, look, you know, thank you, and that was really the end of it. To my knowledge. And then maybe September last year, they said, could you come in before Christmas? And then the dates changed. I'm not 100% sure why.
Hmm.
Must have been with other people's availabilities and schedules. And they said, can you come in? And I just said, yeah. And they just said, like, it would be sort of 5 to 6 episodes. And I said, that's no problem. I was delighted. No, there's no problem. I was delighted to get back. So a real bonus for me. And to go back again and do, really the end, to be part of the end of that whole saga was really generous to them and something I was really delighted to go back and do. So it was a bonus for me to go back.
Yeah, just a few scenes, but they were pretty intense ones, weren't they? Especially last night with the holding
Yeah,
Roy hostage. Poor Roy.
poor Roy, I know, and I mean, he's so well loved. Obviously, he's been there so many years, and I mean, working with David was we talked about his time on the show and talking and developing characters and being part of that character and carrying those characters forward after this story. So, where my part ended last night, David's character starts on a new journey and, the aftermath of that. So again, back to what we said at the start, it was very important for me just to go in, do the job and then leave it to, people like David to go on and do what they're incredibly brilliant at doing. An absolute gentleman. It was a real pleasure to spend those 2 or 3 days with him, just working, an incredibly generous actor and generous man, and just talking about what we wanted to do. And I just said, like, if Griff was hated before, and I think probably will be even more hated now after going and doing that to Roy. But thankfully it was a nice resolution for him.
Yeah, yeah. It took me back to the scenes in the community centre because Roy was there
Yeah.
then, wasn't he? And he stood up to you then.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's it. I mean, that was kind of a little bit of my thinking. I mean, it would take someone like yourself or myself who's been involved in it to remember that scene and to remember that someone like Griff would hold on to someone making a fool of him like he had, like Roy had done.
Mm.
And that was a little bit of my motivation. Like, some people were going, well, motivation. But people were going, why would he be back, or where's that connection? And he did. He made a fool of him that day in the community center, as I said in our previous chat. With facts.
Mm.
Um, and Griff wouldn't be someone who would take too kindly to that.
No, no. Well, he clearly thought that Roy was guilty, didn't he? When you were having that scuffle with him and the blade to his throat, did you have like they're like fight coordinators or whatever that made sure you did all?
Amazing. There's an amazing fight director on that on Coronation Street. That I'd worked with the first time. Whenever all of this stuff with Sarah, we were doing in the in the street, and she's amazing, Kate. And so Kate was there on the day, thankfully, and we worked through that, and and then we rehearsed it, and we decided again, what was she's incredible. She decides what's comfortable for you, what was comfortable for David, for the guys coming in and lifting me out of the cell and things like that. But yeah, it was very much, and as I say, Kate is superb at her job, and she's really brilliant to work with.
What was that? Was the blade just like chunky plastic that you were
Yeah,
holding up to?
because I on the day of film, and I was going, "What have you made this out of?" And we're like, "I don't know. You just made it."
Yeah,
But yeah, like it's like a plastic.
yeah, when we went to the prop store once, they showed us little bits of glass that they scatter on the floor when there's been a car smash or something. So I wonder if it's
Yeah.
similar sort of stuff to that. It looked pretty realistic.
Listen, whenever I was in it the very original time, we did a scene. It was a location scene. It's where we were at the concert. I bring the guys to the concert, and I bring Peter to the concert.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you remember that. And then there's a scuffle in the street. And one of the characters, Dave, lifts up a brick. Now the brick prop is a sponge, and it is unbelievable. I mean, there's a guy who makes and that specializes in doing this stuff. And it was just incredible. And we were like, "Oh, it's a sponge." Um, so brilliant. They're amazing. The props team and the art department, and they're fantastic. Those guys are brilliant. Like,
Mm.
so it was
Um,
just a wee plastic thing.
well, when we saw that you were going to have that scuffle with Roy, I was thinking that Roscoe was going to come and jump in and save you because he didn't
Yeah.
look like he was too happy to be being bossed around by Griff the previous day, did he?
Well, I mean, I suppose there's a lot of people. I mean, this is kind of where I sort of have gone with the character from Dot, and I think we maybe briefly touched upon this. People would talk about is Griff scary, or I mean, I'm quite a yeah. I mean, you've met me. I'm small. I'm small built. I'm fairly wiry. Like 5'9" or whatever. I'm not a big guy. And I think people sort of think to themselves, well, why would Griff be intimidating? Why would Griff and how would Griff intimidate someone who is a bigger guy than him, like Roscoe? And I think the key to that was for me, and it's something that really supported me throughout, is well, I come from a pretty, I mean, I come from you were in Belfast. I mean, it has its rough edges and, and stuff like that. And it has its history,
Yeah.
let's just say. And so, I've seen people and I've grown up with people who, who don't necessarily need to be, big guys to be intimidating. And, I think in that scene, in the prison, he says to Roscoe, who is much bigger and who could probably chin him in a fight, he says to him, "Well, I'll just go and sort your granddaughter out." And he gives the address of the granddaughter, and that's all that a character like Griff needs to do. He doesn't need to be physically big or anything, and he's not worried about Roscoe. He wasn't worried about that because I presume, in the grand scheme of things, if you were to sort of blow the world up a little bit, you know, Griff has his people on the outside. And if you mess with this guy inside, he'll just make a phone call. He has a burner phone. He'll make a phone call and he'll just say, "Sort these people out." And the scarier thing for me, I think, in developing Griff is a sense of normality. I think being a big guy who could thump people and shout at people, and I mean, it was quite heated. Don't get me wrong. He does get angry. Absolutely, we all do probably in life at times. But to be that big sort of bruising guy who can swing his fist. I personally think someone who just goes, "Yeah, go and sort him out,"
Hmm.
and who are like me and who are like you, Michael, and just make snap decisions in a second, very basic, and get on with their day-to-day lives, having just made a decision that something like going after Roy is gonna happen. So Griff doesn't care what Roscoe goes and does. He's given his order, go and do it, or else this is going to happen. And I find that much more intimidating than shouting or screaming or being a big guy who's ready to swing his fists, because that's what Roy was up against. Someone who intimidates you and bullies you like that, with that passive aggressive bullying. bullying, which is worse because it's a mental torture as well as a physical torture. And I think that's the line I wanted to go down: mentally torturing people and being aggressive than physical.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I didn't know what the outcome of the fight was going to be. I thought that Roy was pretty likely to be okay at the end of it. I don't think they were going to bump off Roy, but I did wonder whether Griff was going to end up getting stabbed as part of it. But looks like they've kept you on to intimidate another day. Should the
Well,
need.
look, listen, I'm not dead, and that's always a good thing. But maybe at some point, if they think I could come back, I'd love to go back. But you just deal with these things as they happen. It was an amazing sort of, I think I did it over like 2 weeks, and to go back and see everybody, and to see Georgia and catch up with her and have nice lunch with her and everybody at the studios, and the crew on it are just so brilliant, and it was just so nice to go back and see them and have a chat. And it had been nearly a year since I'd been on it, and to go back in and feel so comfortable is such a brilliant way to work. When you produce really good work when you go into an environment like that where people just make you feel like you're home. And I bumped into Ali and Tina, and we just sat and had a coffee in the green room and just sat. And again, I just felt totally at home in there. And then someone says, right, we're going to go down and film this. And you just feel so relaxed that you can feel like you can do whatever job you want to do. And that comes from the green room out. And then that is on set with the crew who are amazing. And everybody, it was brilliant. It was brilliant to see everybody in the canteen, to go up and have a chat with everybody in the canteen, and
Yeah.
people I hadn't seen in a while. It was it's an amazing work environment. It is an amazing work environment.
Mikey,
Brilliant.
it's been so lovely speaking to you today.
Yeah,
Maybe
thank
our
you.
paths will cross again one day if they want to have you back on Corrie. If we're ever over in Belfast or you're over here, we can meet up again. But
We'll go for pizza and stand in a big long queue and for pizza.
absolutely, that's good. Well, I'll let you go. Thank you very much. Lovely seeing you again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.